I recently just realized one of the biggest problems with Zone 2 running. I've been running for years, and the majority of my consistent running and training has been Zone 2. And I want to explain what that is for people who are not familiar, and then get to the big problem I see with Zone 2. And this is personal. I don't think it applies to everyone, but I'm going to get into that in a minute. I think Zone 2 is incredibly important, and I am a massive believer in building your aerobic base. So for those who are not as familiar, you have heart rate zones, and you calculate them, and it's specific to individuals. And basically in zone 2, zone 1 is when you're building your aerobic base. And then there's the anaerobic, which is more zone 4, zone 5. Some people say zone 3 is kind of a dead man zone. I don't have much of an opinion right now. Some people think it can be productive. But the idea is you build your base with zone 1, zone 2. You build your anaerobic ability and process with zone 4 and zone 5. And so the idea is if you build a big enough base, a wide enough base, you're much more efficient, it's healthier, and you can stack more fitness on top of that. If you don't do this, you can potentially run into issues or just taper out in as far as your gains or speed increases when you do tempo work. So you need both, and arguably need zone 2 and aerobic base more. It may all depend on like your different types of events, sprinting versus ultras versus marathons versus triathlons, right? Though the idea is if you can build your base, you are able to be more efficient. So you can be faster or work harder at the same heart rate. If I'm running 12-minute miles at 140 beats per minute versus 7-minute miles, obviously I'm more efficient and it's not as ideal, like kind of not as bad. I mean, of course, there's the idea of impact and force and stuff, but as far as from like your aerobic system, it's more efficient. And so I'm a big believer in this, and I run the majority of my runs in zone 2, and I believe it's what's contributed to a lot of my success, a lot of my success in ultras. I'm gonna leave that in. Fuck it, I don't care. A lot of my success in ultras and winning races and a sub 3 hour marathon. And so I'm a big believer in zone 2. I've recently ran into a problem with it. And I think this problem has been around for a while. I'm just realizing it more. And to summarize the problem is zone 2 makes me hypercritical of myself, and it makes me feel like I'm unproductive sometimes. Again, this is a personal problem. This is something I've noticed. I want to share this because maybe other people are experiencing this too, or maybe you can avoid it. Because I'm such a believer in zone 2, when I'm not in zone 2, or maybe I run a tenth of a mile at 150 beats per minute, I beat myself up. Or I'm like, oh, like you could have been more efficient, right? Like it's a zone 2 run, like focus on that. And I just don't think that stress is appropriate or needed. And just because I ran a tenth of a mile in a 6 mile run in zone 3, zone 4, doesn't mean the other 4.9 miles in zone 2 wasn't productive. And I guess the idea is that I'm trying to get at is it makes me very obsessive, and it makes me critical of my runs when it tips over into zone 3 or zone 4. Or I'm running up the hill and it's like my heart rate goes to 144 beats per minute into my zone 3, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta stop and walk. And it's like, I don't know. I think it's important to be obsessive, but when I started to get into zone 2, what I read was like only do this for like 18 months, don't ever tip into other zones, and then from there you'll be healthy. And again, I'm a big believer in zone 2. I just don't like how much I get bothered by my higher heart rate. It makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong, and it's just like I guess it's a perfectionist thing, which I'm working on, and making this video helps me be able to articulate it and understand it a little bit better, because I don't want to go through all my life just constantly checking my watch or feeling like if I don't run with the chest strap it's not effective and productive, because a run's a run. Yes, certain types of workouts train certain things and they're all important and I need to plan those out, but if my heart rate tips into 145, 150 for a little bit because I'm on a hill, or because I had to, I don't know, I'm talking on the phone, I had to take an extra breath, I'm not getting as much oxygen, like that's the problem I'm seeing, is because I'm such a believer in it, and I'm a huge advocate of zone 2, because I'm such a believer in it, I get critical when I'm not in that, or when it's not a speed workout. Because when I'm doing speed workouts, it's like, yeah, I need to be in a higher heart rate. But when it's just the casual zone 2, my heart rate goes a little high, or maybe I didn't sleep as well, and so I just am not as, like, recover, so then my heart rate's a little bit higher and I'm running a slower pace than my typical base miles are at. It's just, I don't want to be unhealthy in that way. So if you're getting into zone 2, I'm a big advocate of it, though don't let it make you feel like it's unproductive when you get into zone 3. Because yeah, maybe you should do the majority of it in zone 2, but come on, you run for half a mile in zone 3, you're still running, you're still getting better, you're still enjoying the thing you love. And I'm really saying that to myself. So I hope this helps with that, and you just realize, like, it's okay. It's okay, Reese. Like, it's fine to, like, run with a higher heart rate sometimes. And I just don't want to be obsessive looking at my watch all the time. I want to, like, zone into my run, not worry about data. And I think as you mature as a runner, you're able to tune into that more, where I can feel when I'm in zone 2 more, and I don't need to check my watch as much because I'm just more in tune. So hopefully you get something out of this video, and if you like this type of running content, I'd love it if you subscribe, but if not, no worries. Ultimately, I hope you get something that you can apply to your life and your running, because I want to help people enjoy running more and stay healthy, avoid injury, and just do all the great things when it comes to running. So, other than that, I hope I see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.